Hi, I'm Amy Steele. I'm a senior manager of client success at LeanTaaS. I spent over 20 years as an OR nurse and a manager at a local hospital here in central Pennsylvania before joining the team here. I am excited to share my journey from the operating room to working through the pandemic to how I discovered IQ as a customer and ultimately how I chose to help hospitals and nurses across the country embrace technology and improve their operations. For me, the OR was love at first sight. I went for my first observation day during nursing school, and I knew immediately that this was where I belonged. And then I got incredibly lucky and landed a spot directly in my local OR right out of school. I spent over 20 years there, moving through different specialties, becoming a clinical supervisor, building our robotics program from the ground up, and then eventually spending 7 years in education. And then during the pandemic, everything got exponentially harder. I was managing my own thyroid cancer recurrence when the world shut down, and I was tasked with researching and helping develop protocols for PPE conservation and crisis management. Several weeks later, my in-unit educator position was eliminated, so I got pushed into management during the worst possible time. I was managing both the OR and PACU with close to 80 staff members. We were in a college town, so every time students came back, hospitalizations would surge. We'd cancel elective cases, shut down the OR, and deploy nurses to assist on floors they hadn't worked in 20 years. I was constantly rescheduling elective surgery patients over and over, and the guilt of that became really difficult. My hospital asked me to evaluate LeanTaaS's IQ for Operating Rooms platform, and I was initially skeptical. We were using paper-based scheduling and an EHR that had almost no analytic capabilities. I'd spent 2 entire months manually pulling data to evaluate our robotic usage when someone said, hey, look at this new technology. And so my first thought was, great, one more thing to add to my list. But then we got on a call with the LeanTaaS team, and the rep pulled the exact data I spent 2 months manually compiling. One click, instantly, right there on the screen. They had won me over. Before IQ, every time someone interrupted me while working on those endless manual reports, I would get so frustrated. I knew they needed help, but I also knew I had to finish this thing that was taking hours of my time. And then with IQ, suddenly I could pull real-time data that was actionable. When surgeons had questions or concerns, I could actually have a meaningful conversation with them instead of saying, let me get back to you in 2 months. So IQ gave me a huge chunk of my time back. And that meant I could start to focus on some of the more human elements of my job and the parts that made me want to be in healthcare in the first place. The pandemic kept surging. We were still evaluating hospital bed space on a daily basis and canceling surgeries. And then there was a patient circumstance that just kind of broke something in me, and I started having panic attacks in the car on the way to work. I knew I couldn't keep doing it, but I also didn't want to leave healthcare entirely. I'd given my entire career to this work, so I started looking at companies whose products I believed in. LeanTaaS was at the top of the list since I used and loved IQ, and I knew what it could do. I realized I wasn't leaving healthcare, I was just changing how I contributed to it. All that clinical knowledge, all those years of understanding OR workflows and nurse pain points, that doesn't disappear because you leave the bedside. Working remotely, having flexibility, and being able to leverage my experience without the physical and emotional toll was life-changing. Now I'm in client success at LeanTaaS, and I use my 20 years of clinical experience to help make the product better. I can anticipate what clients will need because I've been in their shoes. When clients talk to me, they're talking to someone who's lived their reality, managed their teams, and felt their stress. So when I'm working with a nurse who's resistant to new technology, burned out and overwhelmed, I get it. I was skeptical too, but I tell them, this is the thing that actually gives you your time back. And then I show them because that's what convinced me. My path from OR nurse to client success isn't exactly traditional, but it says something about LeanTaaS. They value your experience, and they understand that the best people to help healthcare workers are people who have been healthcare workers. It's been one of the best work experiences of my life, and I say that as someone with 20 plus years and a career I loved. I am still fighting for nurses. I'm still trying to make their lives easier and their work more sustainable. I'm just doing it from a different angle now. What gives me hope is technology that actually works. Companies that actually listen to clinicians and solutions that make nurses' lives better instead of harder. I hope the next generation of nurses won't have to choose between the career they love and their own well-being, and I believe companies like LeanTaaS are helping make that possible.